wants to vote, is eligible, has the opportunity to vote. So, and I think that, you know, now that they've expanded the absentee ballot process. So it used to be, you know, you had to be over 60, you had to be out of town. That, I mean, the list of things that had to be before you could get an absentee ballot was horrendous. Now with no reason absentees, I mean, there's really no reason. And now we have the 9 days of early voting. That's just one more opportunity for people to vote. And, you know,
And this voting increased as a result of all this?
I think what's happening is we're looking at, we're plugging in numbers. This year's gonna be a big year for statistical people, but, you know, we've seen with the change in the absentee ballots, the no voting absentees, we've seen the flip from, you know, it used to be so few absentees and tons of people in the precincts. It's starting to move. So we're getting more people voting absentee and fewer people in the precincts, and also in the mix are the 9 days of early voting. And it helps because the precincts, it takes a lot of pressure off the precincts on election day. And so I think that this year it's gonna be a huge statistical year for us to keep track of who's coming in and where. And I think we're gonna see more consolidation. We had some jurisdictions that consolidated from, you know, the city of Muskegon went from 14 to 9. Norton Shores went from 7 to 6. The Muskegon Charter Township went from 7 to 4. We're looking at, as the numbers and the people start using other avenues of voting in the precincts, numbers are smaller, that they can consolidate more and not to have, you know, it's hard to staff 14 precincts.
Right.
So it works out better for the election day people, so yeah.
I'm looking at these ballots for the city of Whitehall and the city of Montague. And there are extra spaces for precinct delegates
Yes.
on the back. That would be write-ins,
Yep.
is that correct? But there are more spaces in Montague for the Democrats and more spaces in Whitehall for the Republicans. How does that happen?
That's based on what the Democratic and the Republican Party tell me the number of precinct delegates they want for those precincts. So if you look at the top of the ballot, just, we can flip one over. If you look at the top of the ballot, it says, like for precinct delegate, county convention, vote for no more than 3. Well, nobody was here, so there's 3 blank spaces. And then for the Republican Party, vote for no more than 5. Well, James is on, and then I had to have 5 blank spaces.
So that's Whitehall Township?
This is actually Whitehall Township.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, and those numbers were made, I don't get to do them. I don't get to do them, because I say, well, those numbers came to me from the Democratic and the Republican parties. They determine how many precinct delegates they want to send to the convention from their precincts. So,
And that's the state part.
no, that's the local. That's the local
The
part.
Muskegon
The
County.
Muskegon County Democratic and Republican parties sent me a listing. I sent them a list, here are all your precincts. Tell me how many delegates you want to go to the convention, and then how many to put on the ballot.
Wow.
So, and they
So
had to
they
do,
don't necessarily do it proportionally.
there's a formula, I don't know, they told me there's a formula, I don't know. And they said it was based on their formula. I just, when you tell me 10, I put 10. Yeah, so, yeah.
Does the clerk's office do any kind of demographic analysis post-election about who's showing up to vote, whether it be seniors or young people or male or female?
I can, but I don't. I mean, I have the capability to do that. I can run a report that tells me the demographics as far as age. I don't. I mean, if someone requests it from me, absolutely I will. And if we feel that we need to do that, we would. But at this point, we don't.
I know you're having some training tomorrow for the various clerks, township, village.
Yes, it's a
city,
required
et cetera.
training it's for every clerk, deputy clerk, and anybody that works in the elections offices of any jurisdiction in the state of Michigan. We just happen to have a training here tomorrow. They did it all over the state, and there are actually 3 trainings tomorrow. We're just one.
and that means folks will focus on, for example, what's new from
Yes.
2022-2.
Yep. We're gonna focus on changes in election law from the last time from 2024. And it's totally focused on election laws, totally focused for the clerks and their staff. And I saw a hand.
Yeah.
What-
Do they have, if contingency plans or if something bad happens, that's not gonna
Yes.
happen, but then you train the
Yes.
clerks on what to do.
So, and I do it for early voting. If I have to I download the total Muskegon County voter file onto a separate laptop. So I have a listing of every voter in Muskegon County, in case my laptop goes down, in case, in fact, in August of 2024, the qualified voter file, the state of Michigan file went down for half an hour. And I'll tell you, we were all freaking. But I had a voter list, I could still get people through, and then once that the state fixed it, we were back up and running, and we got those people back in the file and got them set to go. Everybody has a contingency for power outages, for, we do training on worst case scenarios. In fact, we did a training last fall here, the state of Michigan did. And it's, they call it a tabletop exercise, but we all break out into groups and they start throwing out scenarios to us. What are you gonna do if you go into your voting site and it's in the basement of the church and the church is flooded? What do you do? Who do you contact? So we work with each other, we work with our local police and our fire departments, and we have contingency plans. We have like a phone tree. Who do you call? Mine's a little bigger because I get to use the county emergency services gal, Renee, and I also have, three police departments, 3 fire departments very close. So, but we plan for the worst and hope for the best. So, and we are very good about the clerks call, we call each other, we back each other up. We make sure it works.
You have mentioned that when he asked a question about statistically who voted, when it comes to redistricting, is it true that they only know I voted Democratic because I signed up for the Democratic primary, or alternatively the Republican? Because in the general election, they can't know how I vote, right?
We don't know how you vote at all. We
So
only know that you voted.
how do they tell us on TV that they know this is Democrats on this street?
I'm not quite sure how they get that. It's based on who votes Democrat, not necessarily that you vote Democrat. So we don't know individually who votes for what. All we know is that 5,000 people voted for Democrats. We don't know who those 5,000 people are because the voting process is anonymous. We don't know.
Including the primaries, where we do declare.
The only primary that you do declare is the presidential primary in February and March on the years that we have a presidential election.
Okay.
Everything else, you don't have to declare on this one because both parties are on the same ballot. The only one is that.
Different in other states, and I
Yeah.
come from another place.
Yeah, it is, just that one primary before the presidential election, and it's for the president only,
Right.
you have to declare. Everything else,
Thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah.
Now I feel better about that ballot.
I would, and everybody says, well, you know how I vote, I say, absolutely, I do not, I just know you did, I just don't know how.
Right.
And it's not my business. That's your business. I just want you to vote. I don't care how you vote, I want you to vote. Because, I keep telling people, every vote counts. I have worked, since I've worked, even when I was working as a clerk, I have seen elections win by one vote. And I'm talking about an election where it was tied, and we flipped a coin to see who won. That's how important it is for everybody to vote. I mean, in the grand scheme, nationally, but locally, it makes a difference. Our votes here make a difference.
There was an election in Virginia where they flipped the coin, and it change the party of the house, I
Sure.
think.
Yeah, it's
That's
possible.
incredible.
I mean, it's, it was an election for a trustee position, and it was tied. We did a recount, and it was tied, and the state was here, and they said, okay, we flip a coin, and you call it. And I can't remember who called and who, but it was won by
That's
the
in the
toss
law
of a
too.
coin.
That's in the law too.
It is,
Wow.
absolutely. So, yeah, every vote counts. That's why I try to push to, well, it doesn't make a difference. Well, yeah, it does. It can. It really can, so. Yes.
Now, I know you said you didn't, not that you didn't know about it, you just didn't have any information about, but, cause it was in the sheet that you guys handed out about, I don't know what what the Constitution thing is every 16 years. What is that?
Well, every 16 years, we're required to put it on the election ballot in November for people to say yay or nay, whether they want a constitutional convention to rewrite the Constitution. We did it once in 1961-62, and that's the Constitution we're now working with.
Okay.
But we've not ever said yay. So you'll have a chance in November to do that.
Oh,
Is
okay.
that the state
This year.
constitution?
The
Say
state
what? Yeah,
constitution.
Okay, so
So
that'll come from the state.
Where would you
initiative.
find information that talks about the advantages and disadvantages of yay or nay?
Oh, I think you just Google it, I don't know. I mean,
Talk to Teresa.
they always say
Yeah, I
that,
thought you knew everything.
well, when you open the Constitution, because you think, A needs to change, someone that you disagree with violently wants B to change, and they'll be working on that.
Yeah.
So it's always risky that, it'll get worse, and that's why people, I think, vote against it, because of the risk.
Once you open up that Pandora's
Pandora's
box,
box.
it's starting to,
So, but you're
Yeah.
saying this is the year that that's on the ballot
It'll be
again?
on the
Right.
ballot. But there'll be other proposals on the ballot as well, likely, and they don't tell us.
Yeah.
Even though the people have collected the signatures, turned them in,
Yep.
they announce it sometime in October. And then it'll be your job to look up what it is and see whether you want to
no,
vote
it won't
in
be
favor.
October. I should know what's gonna be on the ballot by August 12th.
Oh,
That's,
really? For
was gonna be my
November?
next
For
question,
November.
Oh,
what's the date?
that's, I heard
Yes.
October.
There's a deadline,
Okay,
because I have to have time to program
sure,
to get it approved, because the state of Michigan has to approve my prettiness.
yeah.
And anybody that's on the ballot has to approve to make sure that I spelled their name correctly.
Right.
And then it has to go to the printer, and then it comes back. So I have to
But
have more time.
there's some controversial proposals
Mhm,
out there,
yes.
so you
Yeah,
have
yeah,
to
it could be.
keep your
So
eyes
by
open.
what date can we access it on the Muskegon site, what the ballot looks like?
So, someone asked me that. I'm working right now with Tom Van Bruggen, who's from the GIS. I'm gonna upload the sample ballots and the spreadsheets that he puts out there for the results. And hopefully they will be on the website by either Friday or Monday.
That's the
The
county,
county website,
under the county clerk.
yes,
Oh, that's for the primary, I meant for the November
for
one.
November. The deadline, let me see if I've got my little cheat sheet. Because the ballots have to be, available for the absentee. Let me pull up my life, and here we go. We are looking at September.
Well, the
So
proposal,
ballots have to be absentee ballots have to be available by September 24th. That week, I try to have, if I can get them up sooner, get them on the website sooner, I do. But that's the week I try to get them on the website.
so that's when all the other proposals will be on the ballot,
Yeah.
September
Yes.
24th.
Yes,
Yeah,
Okay.
for November.
Yep.
Yeah, for November. Everything that's, everything that, not very many on this one. These ballots for August will be on the website, either Friday or Monday. And they are available at your local clerks. The absentee ballots are good. Cause I got half of them in my office because everybody else was off on Thursday last week. So I got, 25 boxes, yeah.
Can you explain what the deadline is for students who are gonna turn 18 by election day, or prior to election day?
So they can pre-register, okay, so students can pre-register at 17 and a half years old. They can fill out an application to register to vote, take it to the local clerk. The local clerk will enter it, and it'll be triggered by their birth date. If they're in the system before their birth date, when election day comes up, they're not even there. As soon as their birthday hits, they become a registered voter, and the next election they pop up.
What
So
age can
they can pre-register at 17 and a half.
17?
We have more questions for Lori, this font of information is so great. Yeah.
I try to be, I wanna make sure I get the correct information out so people aren't, you know,
It's a lot.
it is a lot,
It's a
and I
lot.
wanna make sure that everything is correct. I don't want people to.
Well, I don't know about the rest of you, but I've sort of seen this before, but when she goes through the security process,
Yeah.
you have to say to yourself, how could anyone think there was gonna be fraud?
Right.
How do you
Well,
get
and
fraud in
I've said
that?
this, I've said this, no one person, no 2 or 3 people could ever commit fraud because there are too many checks and balances. There are too many people behind checking everything that's done. So, if it's gotta be a big group,
Yeah.
and I told people that, nobody is, putting someone in office is not worth me going to jail for.
Right.
Not gonna do it. So,
Well,
And
I,
all of it is local. I
Mhm.
mean, how have you ever imagined a conspiracy that was statewide,
I
let
know,
alone
yeah,
nationwide?
because there's so many
Because
checks and
it's all
balances.
localized systems.
Let's see,
Right.
everything that feeds up to the state comes from the locals, and the locals are so chained, we follow so many checks and balances that, and, when I send my results, I check my results, and they don't change, and that's the thing, so it's,
yeah.
yeah.
I would like to make a comment about the changes, you had that page of
Mhm.
changes. That was a constitutional
Yes, it was.
amendment. And even though you may not want to open the whole constitution to be rewritten, you can propose and get signatures in a huge number, and that constitutional amendment would go on the ballot.
And some will have.
And
there
that
won't
was a
be some
huge,
this
I
year.
will say, that was a huge,
Yeah.
huge, they had to have a lot of votes, and that was a lot of work to
The
get that.
number of signatures is based on the number of voters at the previous election.
Yeah.
It was in the previous,
And the
it
previous
is based on
election
the previous election where governors elected, and it's all the votes. It's a percentage of the total number of votes in the governor's race in a previous election, and that's all the candidates.
That's the number of signatures
And
that
that's the
you've
number,
got
it's a
to
percentage
get.
of the
So
signatures.
as
So-
more voters get involved, it goes up.
Yep,
The
exactly.
requirement goes up for
It does.
constitutional amendment.
And all the signatures had to be checked, and they all have to be valid. So that's a huge,
What percentage
I think,
of all the signatures
I'm
has to
trying to
get it
think
on the
if
ballot?
is it,
Depends on the
was it, might be 10%?
350 or?
10%? No, it's just the percentage is small, but when you look at the total number, it was huge. I wanna say either 10 or 15%.
But it was 350,000.
Yes, it was huge.
And then they always get
That'd be about right, 3.5
700,000
million
because
people
they know
vote.
some bad signatures.
And in anything where someone is getting petition signatures, recalls or anything like that, I tell them, get 10% more than what you need. Because once you give me those signatures, you can't add.
Right.
So, that gives you a window where if because if someone puts their name on twice, they're out. Somebody fills it out wrong, they're out. Somebody puts it in, because they had to do it by county,
Yeah.
it's somebody from the wrong county, they're out. So it gives you a window where you don't have to worry, basically you're covering your butt.
Yeah.
But my
signatures.
point is, it is possible.
It is
to get
possible.
enough signatures, and we've had several constitutional amendments just in the
Well,
last
it's
decade.
10 years, yeah.
Oh, yeah, But,
details.
but it is a very,
But it's really hard.
it is
work
hard,
to
but they
do
were
it.
very, very determined, and they did it. I'm thinking,
It's
they
like
can't
the-
do that,
the,
they can't, and it was like, yeah, they did, and away we go, yeah,
Like getting rid of gerrymandering, that's how we got rid of that.
yeah, exactly.
I have a question that it was a personal experience. I understand that with, when you vote straight ticket, that you can also vote separately for something that's out of the state ticket.
Absolutely.
A straight ticket, because, in my personal experience, I was running for supervisor, and my opponent was running as an independent, but there were a lot of straight ticket votes, but the decision on the election was decided by 270 votes, and I believe a lot of them were because people voted separately for that particular position. Could you explain that kind of exception?
So if you, okay, I'm gonna tell you I'm a Democrat, okay? So if I go in with, in November, and I look at this, and the majority of the people that I wanna vote for are on the Democratic side. So I can hit that Democratic box, but say I got a friend that I want, that, I don't know, I got somebody running for an office and they are not a Democrat, they're a Republican. I can go through and I can mark individual races on the different side. And it will, everything that doesn't have a mark, automatic Democrat. But if I go over to the Republican Party for my friend, there we go. And my machine reads it all.
That used to not be the case.
It used to not be the case, but now we can do that.
It changed in 2018.
Yes, it did.
Anything else, any other questions? Lori?
Okay.
All right, well,
Yeah.
thank you so
Wonderful.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for letting me come.